Welcome to the third week of your course. This lecture will talk about how you interface with the computer, so we can finally zero in on the user. Let's get started. Remember in last week's lecture we learned about input devices? Well, we're going to talk about one of the most common input devices, the keyboard. Computer keyboards resemble typewriters, but there's really more to a keyboard than meets the eye. Keyboards come in different shapes and sizes and layouts, although there is usually a standard and common design. Your laptop probably resembles one of the standard layouts. Let's break down what you're seeing. First, notice the letters. Those are technically called alphanumeric keys, and there is a standard layout for which letters go where. The standard layout is set up so that the most often typed keys are the most accessible keys, rather than just lining up the keys alphabetically. These standard keyboards are called QWERTY because of the letter combination on the upper left of the keyboard. Some people can type without looking because they know where the keys are. Others look at the letters as they type. Which one are you? Do you look up or type by touch? In addition to the regular keys with letters, there are modifier keys like Shift, Alt, and Control. The reason these are named modifier keys is because they modify or change another key's regular function if you hold them down while pressing the original key. For example, let's look at the S key. Typing it by itself will produce a small s. Typing the Shift and S key at the same time will produce a capital S. Holding the Control and the S key at the same time saves your file. So as you can see, the simple S key has three functions. Here's a quick math question. When you look at your keyboard now, how many keys are there really? Now let's look at the numeric and function keys. Notice the numeric keys look like a calculator, and some have arrows on them. See the numlock key at the top? When you have it on or activated, it locks those numbers so their functionality is limited to only those of a calculator. If the number lock key is not activated, those number keys with arrows on them move the cursor around your document. And if you're trying to use that number keypad as a calculator, remember that the slash is for division. So if you're trying to figure out how many times 6 goes into 741, you'd type 741/6 and then enter. To see the answer is 123.5. The function keys are labeled F1, F2, and so on. As you may have guessed, F stands for function. In many programs, F1 is the help key. That means when you press F1, you get a window that displays information about the program. Remember that if you ever get stuck. Make sure you check out this week's web links for helpful information about what the other function keys do. Your keyboard is quite the powerhouse, and since it sits right in front of you and is completely easy to access, you should learn to use it to its fullest capacity. The next category of keys we need to talk about are cursor movement keys. These keys are usually located right in the middle between the alphanumeric and number keys. When we talk about the cursor, we mean the blinking vertical line on your screen that lets you know where the letters will appear when you type them. The 4 arrow keys make your cursor go where the arrow is pointing. The 6 keys above the arrow keys are fairly new to the standard keyboard. They're labeled Insert, Home, Page Up, Page Down, End, and Delete. Just as the arrows move you letter by letter, these keys move you around within a document or web page. Pushing the End key will take you to the end of a document, and Page Up and Page Down moves you up or down a screen at a time. One thing worth mentioning here is the Insert key. It has 2 modes, and if you ever hit it by accident, you need to know how to get back to normal. One mode is Insert, so if you're typing in Word, for example, and you place your cursor between 2 words, what you type will be inserted at the cursor. If the Insert key is in the other mode, it will type right over your original words. If that happens, just push the Insert key and your typing mode will return to its original state. Some of these keys don't work from application to application, but most do. And you might not use some of the keys, but it doesn't hurt to know what they could do. Finally, when you're using your computer to play games, all standard functions as you know them are invalid. You should check with the game to see how to navigate. Special purpose keys are standard on most keyboards. I'm going to give you a quick definition of them so you can use them. The escape key is usually able to back up one level in the environment. For example, if you are searching for something on the internet and change your mind, hitting escape will stop the search and take you back to whatever you were doing previously. The print screen key captures what's on your screen. If you click Print Screen and open Word and paste, you'll see the screen you just captured. You might need to know this one for schoolwork, so take note of it. Scroll lock causes the cursor to stay in the same place on the screen while the document moves around. The Start key, the key with the Windows logo on it, opens the Start menu from the keyboard. The Shortcut key brings up a window of shortcuts if you're using Windows-based applications, like Word, Excel, or PowerPoint. The Pause key stops a command in progress. If this isn't enough to keep you busy, check this week's reading assignment for more information about keyboards. I chose this picture of a mouse for this slide because it shows how it got its name. Do you see the long tail? The idea behind the mouse is to slide it around on a pad, which moves a ball inside, and then the pointer on the screen moves according to how you scoot the mouse. Using a mouse pad is a good idea because if dirt or dust gets inside the mouse, the ball can't roll around freely and the mouse won't work as well. Let's look at the parts of a mouse. Notice there are two sides, which are divided by a small centerpiece. All of the clicking, double-clicking, and dragging happens on the left side of the mouse, and scrolling happens by rolling the centerpiece up and down. The right side of the mouse has different functions, which we'll talk about in a minute. Now we'll talk about some basic mouse functions. First, let's discuss how to select something. When your mouse pointer is hovering over text, click the left mouse button once to select it. This is kind of like telling your computer, I want to use this. Just as single-clicking selects something, double-clicking causes an item to open or launch. So, if you want to work on a file on your desktop, double-click it. You might also have a need to drag something. Let's say you have a document on your desktop you want to move into the recycle bin. Click once to select it, but don't let go. Hold the mouse button down. Now you can drag or move the item. Right-clicking brings up a unique set of commands that are usually tucked inside an application's menu. For example, in Microsoft Word, if you right-click on a word, you'll see a shortcut menu that contains things like font, paragraph, bullets, styles, and several others. In that way, the right side of the mouse is different from the left, since the left side is reserved for only selecting. If you want the right-click menu to disappear, just click somewhere else outside the shortcut menu. But a mouse isn't perfect for everyone. For example, you can switch which side of your mouse does which function if you're left or right-handed. You can even program buttons on the mouse to do certain things, such as open your favorite programs. They are very customizable. Try going into your control panel from the Start menu or by looking at the documentation that came with your mouse. And for others, the mouse doesn't really work at all. They go for the alternatives like trackballs or trackpads. The trackball is sort of like an upside-down mouse, and you use your finger on an exposed ball to move things around on the screen. A trackpad or touchpad is a touch-sensitive area where you can use your finger to move the pointer around. These are pretty popular on laptops where people don't want a cord or mouse tail hanging around. They are also customizable. Finally, you might be working on a laptop with a touchpad which doesn't have a mouse. However, if working with a mouse is more your style, did you know you can add one? There is usually at least one extra plug space on the back of your laptop to add such a device. Just check with your local computer or office supply store to make sure you get a mouse that works with your laptop. Let's spend a bit of time now talking about other input devices, and there are many. As technology gets more mature, our society sees more places to apply it. You might see people using electronic calendars with special pens, or writing themselves a note on a handheld device. Grocery store scanners read barcodes. Microphones and cameras allow us to speak right into our computers for others to hear and see. And voice recognition software understands our words and types what we say. In fact, you're probably looking at a critical input device right now if you're noticing your webcam. Some of these input devices require a special card or software, but several of them use software that's built right into the computer already. You might not need this information just yet, but you probably will when you finish this education and get your next job. Here's a word you might have heard before: ergonomics. Ergonomics is the study of people and their tools, and in this case, computers. Lots of workers sit in front of a computer all day and use the same body motions again and again, which can cause injury. In fact, the official name for this is repetitive stress injuries, or RSIs. Employees have filed workers' compensation cases and have needed surgery to address these injuries, so they can get pretty serious. But there are things you can do to prevent the injuries. First, think about getting an ergonomic keyboard. These are not usually available in a laptop, but are available when you're using a desktop computer. They are curved in such a way that your wrists can stay straight and not turn inward. Using a padded wrist support on your mousepad is also a good idea. Try to sit up straight. Maybe Mom knew all along. But seriously, slumping for hours and weeks and months will cause problems in your spine, neck, and back. And learn to type by touch. Some people just sort of poke and stare at the keyboard, which can keep your neck bent downward. If you can type by touch, you will be able to look straight ahead at the monitor. Also, take frequent breaks. Once an hour, try to stand up, stretch, and look at something across the room to rest your eyes.